economics.
Oh, okay, let's not get crazy now.
That's what he's going to major in at George Mason.
No,
when
I'm
he
not.
starts. What?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, politics, philosophy, and economics.
That's a concentration of the PPE program.
The
It's
PPE
really going to be an international and government studies.
Very, very well.
It's a very
named.
cosmopolitan thing.
Well,
What
what
people
is-
from Santa Pumpkin do.
We just had a discussion about how mythology, ancient mythology, led up to metaphysics. And so I'd like to recapitulate that for our fans. And by the way, thanks very much for following, sharing, and supporting us with your contributions and donations, especially if you're going to use the new PayPal button that you'll see soon. In any case...
How about this case?
How about this case? In any case, we were discussing in the garden on the patio, we were discussing the fact that all theology, it depends upon a philosophy. You scratch any theology and you're going to find a philosophy underneath.
And then you go through a philosophy and
You're
you'll
gonna
eventually find a myth.
A mythology.
Mythology.
And in the
We're supposed
West...
to say it at the same time. We rehearsed this like 5 times.
Let's say it again. 1, 2, 3. In mythology.
Theology. Philosophy.
Forget about it.
Get to your point.
Anyway, in the West, what happened was that the earliest reckonings of how to deal with reality, truth, goodness, and beauty, the 4 basic questions that any serious thinker thinks about before that they leave the earth. The ancients started out with various mythologies which grew out of stories and legends and folklore.
Like
We're talking-
Neptune, going over and
Yeah.
spanking, some thon into making this and that god or whatever.
Right, right. So in order to deal with reality, they didn't use reasoning as much as they depended upon feeling and emotion. Sound familiar? Sounds like today, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, they had an actually interesting mythology.
They did.
Versus nowadays, they
did.
don't have any. They say it's science or something like that.
Right,
They make
right.
science of their mythology.
Materialism. It's
Oh,
materialism.
it's so boring.
Materialism. But in the ancient world, the way in which they dealt with the facts that were distressing to them, like why did some women were not able to have children? Why were some babies born without arms and
Why
legs?
did earthquakes happen?
Why did
the harvest go bad?
Yeah, but why did good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? Well, what they did was they invented myth, and what they did is they took all of the elements of the world, the earth, the fire, the sky, the water, and they personified them. They anthropomorphized.
So Neptune or Poseidon was the sea god, and
Right.
Zeus was the lightning bolt person,
Right.
or
Lightning
Thor.
bolt. And Mercury delivered messages. And
Yeah, this is before email.
Right, before email.
But after the post office was Hermes.
But it was found, the more reflective, the more leisure time that people had in culture, as cities developed, people had more leisure time. They found these mythologies to be very unsatisfactory, actually. And what they did was they then began to ask questions about cosmology. Now, cosmology is the investigation of how the universe functions.
Wait, what's cosmology? Oh, okay.
Yeah. How does the universe function? Does the universe have a beginning? Does it have an end? Is it eternal? Is it finite? Is it static?
What's in it?
What's in it? How is it made?
Why do we care?
So that's a step forward from mythology.
Okay.
So there were 3 important philosophers who were called atomists that replaced the myth makers. Now, by the way, the myths still continue to exist side by side throughout the beginnings of philosophy, even up to and including the time of Aristotle.
Yeah, okay.
Bertrand Russell points out in his History of Philosophy
So-
that mythology still continued to be believed.
Oh, I would say far past during the Roman
Yes,
Empire, right?
Yes. So it's not the case that we let go of story, myth, folklore, and legend. We incorporated those into our culture.
It sounds like it kept going until the conversion of Constantine
Yes.
to Christianity.
Yeah.
So basically, Christianity was the first stepping stone away from mythology to.
Christianity really brought a religious cosmology into play.
Mm.
It was the first religious cosmology if you leave the Babylonians aside.
Sure.
Because they thought of everything. The Babylonians really thought of everything.
Or the Aztecs.
Yeah. And the Byzantines really
Sure, yeah,
thought of
that they did too, yeah.
Yeah. So philosophy has its origin in mythology.
Right.
And mythology is a very important way in which people who are not reading Latin and not reading Greek and not reading Hebrew.
Stop looking at me.
Yes, you don't read any of those things.
Hablo español.
God, have a taco.
Have a taco.
He's hungry. He's hungry.
Northwestern
Exactly.
Yankee.
So eventually, the Westerners got tired of the answers that they were getting to the cosmologists, because one cosmologist, Thales, said that everything is composed of water. The most basic element of all the things in the universe is water.
Because he was wet?
Axamander was on fire. He said it was fire that was the basic element. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. And Anaximenes is the most interesting one, because he said, no, it's some indefinite thing. Something that you can't really see, smell, taste, or touch. The beginnings of metaphysics is right there. That's how metaphysics evolved into philosophy. Did you know that?
Then come, little Dickie Dawkins and, oh no, we don't have metaphysics anymore!
Dawkins.
So we're
Yes,
going
yes.
full circle back to mythology then.
That's
because
right. That's right.
So
That's right.
thanks to our great scientific overlords who have dethroned metaphysics, we have to go back to mythology.
Sometimes you have to go back before you can go forward.
All right then. This will
Anyway,
be fun.
that was a fun podcast, and
Make sure to make it even more fun by supporting us, throwing money in our general direction. Makes us become an even greater myth than legend.
oh, well done.
Oh, thank you.
Well done.
Oh, stop it, you.
Bye.
Like, subscribe, share.